Hi, everybody, and this is Chris and Joanna again, and I think we're just going to do just a little talk with Chris and Joanna right now.
Yes, this is a subject that has come up recently in work that a friend of mine and I have done. Um, with regarding contracts, let's just say, and you've heard us talk about contracts. You've heard me and Viking talk about contracts and the different meanings behind contracts. Like some people believe when they come into this life uh, they have contracts to fulfill while they're here. And there is a certain truth to that where people are here to lay a certain harmonic or cancel out a certain energy as part of their soul mission. And I'll post something to Facebook on this as well. One of the little memes that I've been putting up, that's something I've been jotting down in my notebook. It's one of those little fun facts that I've been putting up. That'll eventually be up there, but I'll go into this a little bit more here. This is for our Patreon crowd. This has to do, a friend of mine and I in London have been going around helping and opening up some of the Earth centers that have not been opened up in a while, like some of the Nexus Point that's been clogged up pretty good, or beings that have been bound by dark beings. When somebody has sometimes a contract attached to them that is preventing them from moving forward, or some beings are laying that down. Sometimes it takes an outside force to kick that in the butt or burn that contract, makes it so that we are more unified and work together in things. But what was brought up to me, it sounded right, but it didn't. Whereas there were a lot of so-called contracts from my SSP time that were for every deed I pulled there, regardless of whether I was told to do it or did it independently or what have you. Um, that was more karma that built up, and also the building up of good karma would cancel out some of that. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but this is a concept that I want to get into. Instead of just bouncing out karma, what happens when it's not yours? What happens when someone else is able to lay it on you? I call this karma dumping. And this is actually a subject that not too many people get into because they don't really know too much about it. Okay. Here's a good example. The Cabal is a fantastic example of this. Um, they have sorcerers take whatever karmic energy or whatever you want to call it that is built up on them. They displace it onto someone else, and then that someone else's good energy then flows to them. It's a form of energy theft, as far as I'm concerned. It's a swapping out. Then some people call it, well, man, I just had a streak of bad luck. Could you have your own karmic energy? I hate using that word repeatedly because it's up there with sin, as far as I'm concerned. But for all intents and purposes, there's no better word that I can come up with. Or energetic flows, or the blockages of energetic flows. That's essentially what it is: blocking one flow and redirecting it to another, and then taking that a blockage and redirecting it over
And,
here.
and then why is this happening? It's all happening in order to try and maintain a balance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. So again, if there's been a lot of, let's say, service to self, not caring about others, that builds up a particular energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of balance. And so, there is always going to be some sort of universal shift with energies to cause a balancing to occur. And so some people refer to that as the karmic, now to be on the other side of the shoe, or whatever you want to, however you want to do it. That's what we're talking about. It's about an imbalance that is occurring that is kind of outside of the normal flow of things, of understanding, to be in balance of knowledge, to be in balance of life, to be in balance of as a soul. And so it gets out of balance. And so that kind of karma, let's say, that's why people say it's not about assigning bad or good. It's just an imbalance that's trying to correct itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people who don't want to go through that balancing personally,
they can dump it onto someone else, so therefore it imbalances yourself. And this is how the whole false reincarnation cycle got going too. When the archontic forces created this and elongated all this this wheel of karma, let's just say, out, that energy has to go somewhere. It has to be used. It has to be transmuted somewhere. Normally, it would be within the lifetime in which that it was created. We've often talked about that, where, say if you stole something in one life and then all of a sudden your head chopped off in the next, that sounds like extra amount of energy is being dumped on you. What that displacement is again, we'll just go with like some hypothetical cabal individual, family individual that happens to know certain sorcery or know someone that can do this. This sorcerer, say, then would take that energy blockage that's created by that lack of energetic flow, and turn it around, place it onto yourself, and then put your good flow onto them through a series of cords. This dumping, takes place quite a bit.
and I like to give you the biggest example
Mm-hmm.
of karmic dumping that everyone should be able to understand this, and that is the one that people refer to as Jesus. So I find it interesting because I'm like, here comes a being that comes in, he's trying to help people in this particular lifetime. And as the negative does, they're not happy with somebody. They're very much not happy with somebody for what they've been done. And it's like, you don't even know the mistake you did. So let's spin a story and let's pretend this person is this great God and he can handle anything. And we're going to make him into something he never said he was. And then not only that, but we're going to tell all of you people that you must go through him and you must turn everything over to him. If you have a worry, if you have a care, if you have a problem, send it all his way, right? And he will handle it for you. Have faith that he will handle it for you. Call out to him, turn it over to him. All of the words that have been used, which is the biggest middle finger to that being, because what these entities that actually wove him into a religious being now, what they really did is they formed the biggest mass karmic dump of all time onto one being.
Yes, think of it this way. Say you have Jesus, who they claim died for everyone's sins, basically taking a sin, karma, think of the same thing, taking all that energy and taking it to the other side. Do what with, exactly? Some people say, oh, giving it to the universe. Well, why does an external being have to do that for you? You transmute it, you deal with your own issues, and the byproduct of you dealing with your own issues and becoming your own centered sovereign self is the healing and the transmuting. Why do you need a middleman? You do not need a middleman. This is a trick, folks. Jesus even told us, even today, when we contacted him for another reason I'm not going to mention here. But just know it also had to do with karma dumping that has been repaired. What I am going to say, though, is he has to go into hiding in a very thick stone chamber so that so the people worshiping him aren't sending him their problems. Like, oh, this Jesus take the wheel mentality. He never said this. This was something religion made up, and the cabal is happily went along with this and said, yeah, we don't like this guy. We're giving him the middle finger. They give him the middle finger all the time. There's symbols, signs, and places on this planet where even buildings you go into that they're giving him the middle finger on a regular basis. And what gets dumped onto them, this is another thing, this is a download I'm getting even as we're speaking. Going into a building that has that form of a middle finger that you wouldn't recognize. You wouldn't recognize if you saw it. Well, maybe you would in numerical form if, say, the number 33 was there that's associated with him. I'm not going to mention where that comes into play, but that came into play in a session I recently did. People go in there, they're automatically giving that karma over to them. People that get certain cleansings sometimes that are associated with giving things over to Jesus. Faith healings, I'm not saying any of this is wrong. I'm saying that in specific situations that karma is being dumped over onto him or tribe, and he has to go back underground into his room. And what happens to a being that is heavily worshipped and karma dumped on?
Well, heavily worshipped is probably the first thing, because we'll just say those beings that are heavily worshipped. So it's an interesting thing, because there's plenty of beings that fall into the mentality, they themselves being in this expression. Again, many people want to believe that if you are something else other than boots on the ground human, that you are somehow divine, and that you are somehow not that you're kind of Teflon, that you're not affected by these energies and different things that are in this expression. We've tried to tell everyone from day one that is untrue. That if you are in this expression, it doesn't matter where you're vibrating at, but if you are part of this expression, you are affected by the energies that are here. And it is very hard for any being who has made themselves publicly available, who is worshipped, not to start to develop what is called a bit of a forked tongue or a dualistic way of being. And they are sometimes, because of what people are trying to dump on them, they themselves start to transform, and then they themselves become enormous participants in karma dumping what's come their way.
They become that conduit. See, it is not always on them, it is on the people that are worshiping them. This is why I say, please do not do this, these beings, because depending on the being and the mentality of the being, they become over-bloated, overpowered assholes, basically. In some cases, Lucifer is a fine example of this, and there are several others that are fine examples. Shiva is another fine example of this. Sorry, everybody that are Shiva worshippers, don't care. This is something that is actually harmful, and then this causes more karmic dumping.
And then who was it that put together the teachings to give you these beings to actually aim for? And again, I'm not saying you are taught to be malicious and aim for, but if you really knew what you're sending everything over to the being who's currently known as Jesus, what you were really doing to that being, if you really knew what was going his way, I would say many people would be horrified to think that their Lord and Savior actually is still hung up on a cross because of the karma and karmic dumping that you are trying to deal with in a way that you've been now taught by very nasty beings. You've been taught that, and Jesus is actually, in a sense, continually up on that
cross,
the cross being constantly crucified now by the ones who supposedly are honoring him, because that's how slick Willy these negative beings are, to make you, to turn everything around on its head and have you do things that you would be horrified to know that you were actually doing.
And this is something, this goes back to what we said, the negative effects of good intentions. This goes straight back to, like I said, people were sending, no, Chris can handle it. No, Chris can handle it. No, it was causing a nightmare. Imagine a being that is heavily worshipped like Jesus Christ, what you are doing to that man by sending him all of the junk that you should be transmuting yourself. I'm not saying don't get help from higher beings. I am not saying that. Jesus does help people. But when you are grounded, when you are in your passion and creativity, as you hear Viking and me talking about, when you become that center, when you know who you are, curses and all that kind of stuff can't affect you. We'll do another thing on curses at some point. Curses and karma dumping essentially are the same thing. It's the intention that's put behind it. It's essentially the same thing. It's physical and mental, energetic, and some spell. The words that come out from the spell are taking that redirecting that energy over. It's essentially the same difference, a different word.
Because why is somebody doing that? Because they're uncomfortable. So there's an uncomfortableness going on with a person or the being or whatever, and they want to not feel that anymore, okay? People that are in joy, happiness, in a balanced state or whatever, They're not doing this. The beings and people that are doing this are uncomfortable. Now, they could say they're mad with a cause.
Mm-hmm.
They could say that they're doing this, that, and the other. But when you break it all down, they're at a place that they're very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Now, every now and then are people out there trying to do corrections and do things, and they're uncomfortable, but they keep working it and then they transmute the problem, then things seem to settle. That's not what we're talking about. So people that are doing certain conjurings and certain whatever, they're mad. They're not doing it because they're in joy. They're mad, or they are actually in service to someone else as a hired conjurer, and then that's really what actually is going on.
You become a conduit, no different than that worship being does.
Yeah. So, and believe it or not, so we keep using right now because we really think people can grasp onto this idea, and it's going to click in your head to use Jesus as an example. But Jesus is not the only one this is occurring to. This is occurring to everyday humans as well,
yes,
as all of this bad energy that's out of balance, beings and people or whatever are trying to shift it away from them. And that's their way of dealing with it. Instead of transmuting, instead of what's going on, it's being shifted into other people's directions. Now, does your name have to be known in order for you to actually receive some of this karmic dumping? I actually don't think so. I think, this is something to look into, but I think some of it actually is tied into these stupid new, let's say, rules that are popping up.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, karmic dumping is associated with dealing with money or signing your name on a receipt, or some of these crazy ass things that they're always coming after you, saying that, well, you signed a contract, which really is not true, but that's what they say because you haven't recognized yet that you're in a pattern of being just a victim of karmic dumping.
Yeah, and now I have written something up that I will also post on Facebook about the signing of receipts and signing of contracts and all this other stuff. And are there revocations? There a small revocation that goes with this? Yes, it is. But there's a fine line between revoking things and becoming OCD over it as well. And I've straddled that line myself, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You're afraid to go anywhere or do anything because you might incur a contract. And there's the snare, because these beings want you to form those other shoes dropping all the time. Now, I'm not saying that things like, say, social media or signing something or stamping your name on something or what have you, that there isn't an etheric contract there. Yes, there is, but it doesn't hit every single time. It's more like a wheel that is random. It's like this random wheel of fortune sort of thing that the AI is getting more and more loose about all the time. And sometimes it's more strict depending on the energetic day or rotation. Sometimes it's drifting. But there will become a time where that's not in play at all, when all that energy from the false incarnation cycle gives way and that cork pops and we're back to the normal, regular incarnation cycle. But back to
and no should mean no. So we spoke about this before, about the frequency of no and what that means. So in the ideal place, which we're not out yet, simply saying no and meaning it with your truly, not no question mark, no meaning no coming through, is kind of the what in all fairness should be as simple as that. The intention is no, there will not be karmic dumping on me. No, getting involved in any of the playettes out there that you guys feel means something means crap to me, and no means no, I will not entangle with it, even though I am forced to be a part of this right now in this current present moment. No, I do not entangle with any nefarious things to have karma dump, negativity around, and no means no. And that is the intention pretty much that you should strongly be putting out there. However, I will say that at this current present moment, that this kind of being confirmed, that there are certain beings that they won't stop until you do a little bit more. So Chris tries to tease out, when can no be no, and when do you maybe need to do a little bit more. Not that that's the way it should be, or that's the way we're going to go, but that at this current present moment, it's not, everybody's not on the same page. So again, the goal being know me known, and you better be putting out that intention very, very strongly. And then the other issue I think that we wanted to cover is the concept of when something is noticed, the disillusion, the dissolving of that type of environment is supposed to be happening. So how do you know if you are being karmic dumped on? You know, that's kind of the first question. I was a little, I'm going to tell you honestly, I was a little frustrated with some of the conversation over that because, you know, I thought it wasn't specific enough. I'll just be quite honest. So I was a little frustrated about that. So I think, in my humble opinion, it would benefit us all to constantly be kind of radiating out that no to karmic dumping. But I think you may have some suggestions of helping people recognize it. Again, this is just my opinion. I think karmic dumping begins with a lot of things that we've talked about before individually, you know, be it the money system, being walking on certain grounds, being doing whatever, and then let the karmic dumping begin, because there are a lot of beings out there besides humans that are doing this.
Yes.
But again, there may be other signs that you can look out for to see that if you believe this is going on.
Now, a big sign that was given to us is when your home is in complete unrest by negative beings, not just one or two that are scavengers. This is a little different. When you're completely overwhelmed and you feel like your home is no longer your castle, is how it was put. Like your home basically feels like it's eating you alive. And you don't know how many times I've heard this phrase, this home is killing us, this house is killing us. I've heard this many times over the years. And I would say, really, your house is literally killing you? You know, some people, they use that phrase to refer to as like maybe overwhelming debt or bills or something like that. That's a common phrase that people use, but that's an energetic thing. Now, can a building become sick? Like you see in something like, say, The Shining or something like that? Yeah, a building can become sick energetically. That is a truth. But the main crux of this is, if you feel like your home has become more of a prison or a trap, and that feeling has overwhelmed you, it's either A, just a malicious being that has overwhelmed your house, like a demon or something like that, or a set of malicious beings, or B, that still is in play, but you have had an enormous amount of karma dumping put on you. And it is just this overwhelming, crushing thing that you're not learning anything from, folks. When it comes to the karmic dumping, there are no lessons there. That is an overage. The normal karmic system, you're supposed to learn something from it, transmute it, and it's done. With this is an extra addendum that has been added on by the Orions. There's nothing to be learned from it except basically how to stop it, and how to. And once you notice a curse, it tends to dissolve. Just like with programming, once a cognitive dissonant person actually knows that they've been programmed, it dissolves. And I know that sounds oversimplistic, but when you at least becoming aware of the fact that you are being karma dumped on, you now have a chance to put an end to it, and basically declaring your sovereignty and declaring all contracts that are not needed be gone, and anything that is not yours, be that in your genetic memory or in your energetic field, be gone. Assert your sovereignty. And then you'll find that by the true goodness that's out there, it's recognized.
And it's hard because the reason that I'm a little bit more frustrated with the answers, not, in my opinion, not being detailed enough, is because there are certainly going to be times when members of a household are supposed to leave one another. Okay, so so, there's plenty of times when people are potentially in a situation where they needed to karmically get back together in order for it to break, for a
Yes.
karmic cycle to end.
Yes, yes.
That is true. Okay. That
There is a truth to that.
And but again, you can also get into a cycle where it's happening over and over and over again. And I mean lifetime after lifetime, because it's an overage. So
there is a difference there.
There is a difference. My whole thing about it though is, until you do a life review, are you going to know which one it was? So that's why I was a little frustrated with the answer. I think because oftentimes people, will look to others and they're like, tell me what to do. Tell me what is the thing to do. And sometimes, it's frustrating because we would like to be able to do that, but we can only give you, I guess, what I would call sometimes a list of the possibilities. And so in something like this, it's, becomes a part of the list of possibilities for you to basically look at and potentially account for the possibility, thus revoke, thus do whatever. So, if you're in a household where it's really become uncomfortable, and you're uncomfortable with the people, or the spouse or whomever you're with in the household, and you've, acknowledge the potential of karmic dumping and revoke it and do whatever, if it's still occurring, there certainly is a chance that the relationships were supposed to end. And so anyway, I just don't want people to think that getting rid of karmic dumping, if they're meant to move on, is going to stop that, because people usually, when they're in an uncomfortable situation with a significant other or family member or whatever, obviously
it's always good to get away from that toxicity. Now I've seen the reverse of it, where negative beings will keep people stagnant. I had a friend where he was married to someone, and the beings kept them stagnant, and them separating was the thing that actually was meant to take place. But they were getting the most frustration energy, loosh, basically. They were out of that situation by the union versus the separation. Some people get that reversed. Some people, it always means unity. No, sometimes it can mean this too. There are situations where that pops up. So again, we don't want people to get that screwed up. There are situations where trying to separate is the thing that the bad guys are attempting to do with karma dumping and or oppression of any kind. They'll attempt to make it so uncomfortable that they do separate. That is another form of it. Now, if somebody's meant to separate because it's the end of a cycle, so be it. But if they're meant to stay together to end the cycle, so be it. It's up to the individual couples, individual people. And that's why you can't have a complete standardized set of rules with this. It depends on who you are and what you're around.
So probably another part of this discussion that we should bring up that's related to current present moment, because of all of the things going on with the COVID, with the vaccine, with the racism, everything that's going on in the world right now. What we would say is you certainly can't relate all of it to karma. Just this is all occurring because there's all this karmic dump. No, that's not a true statement either. No. It becomes very, very complicated. So one of the things, again, that we want to reiterate is what, okay, let me try to put it this way. You have to have faith that your intentions and the world's intentions, humanity's intention of wanting something better, which we've stated over and over again, that the changes that are occurring now in this world are not caused by an isolated few. Okay, you've had a mass screaming out on a soul level from most of the humans, okay, that are a part of this, that want to see change and they want to see something better, and they're tired of this, okay? So what's happening now is those wheels are moving, okay, because of that overwhelming desire to see this occur. It is occurring. Where people, one of the fears that, pop into people's mind is that it's reversing, that it can be reversed. This seems to be a train that is going to go now. So, I think I want to have people, maintain their vision of what they would like to see the world, what they don't want to see in the world anymore, what they do want to see happen, and the continuation of wanting to find people, be it in a political place that is actually representative for the people versus a puppeteer to something else. In our opinion, we're still dealing with a theater of puppets. We've tried to make that perfectly clear. It's breaking down, it's becoming more visible to everybody, but is it actually through? No, because if you're still looking at a savior being, a person that you put up on a pedestal to be the savior of breaking all this down, we're certainly not beyond that mentality ourselves. It's not really there, but it's in the process of doing all of this. So we're in process and process and process. So what I think is happening now is that, instead of allowing the river to flow and to move on and have confidence that the river is moving as it should be to do what the desired collective consciousness really wants, there becomes these moments where people feel that it could be turning back on its head. One of the great moments that I feel people are in fear of, where it could be turning back on their head, is something as simple as wearing a mask. So wearing a mask in general, people feel if we give in to wearing a mask, we're giving consent and we're going to go backwards now. I actually, feel very, very strongly that that is not the case. I feel that it becomes a distraction for you to continualize your visions of positive co-creating. And so we are in this process, along with a process where, the cabal has to play out their cards. They must play out their cards now. And so in general, one of the things is that you need to have faith in the vision that is going to unravel and be seen, and that, in that what is to come in its place is going to be what the collective consciousness has wanted. And you should feel, confident in that, and not let some of these other issues that are conveniently popping all up now get you enthralled in a for or against, which will do nothing but drag your energies backwards and make you really, really uncomfortable. So, I feel that for your personal sake, for your personal mental health, that, one of the things that I think we really want to share is our understanding of the energies that are going to be happening over, the next 5.5, 6 months, which is the energies that are forcing the cabal to do everything they planned. So, and as they are pulling out their cards and they're revealing it, everyone's looking, going, wait a minute, maybe the emperor has no clothes on. Mm-hmm. But it must be played out. So what I would want to caution everybody, okay, and again, not to co-create, but to tell everybody, do not be surprised by if you see things get a little worse, okay? Because if you think them just throwing out the COVID card was the worst of it, you're very naive. It's like waves upon waves that have been planned out for a very long time. Okay, so this shutting down, opening up, shutting down, opening up. Oh, we're going to get it worse in the fall. Again, trying to get people to also co-create that there will be waves. Okay, it could be there's going to be a more virulent flu. I mean, that's going to magically worse than ever before.
They've already tried to do it, saying China created something worse.
Well, or something else, okay? Or there's going to be, the noticeable food shortages, and I am putting this in quotes because it is not true. But
it's an illusion. They're making you think that
they want you to believe that, or they could be putting mechanisms in place that certain silly things like a sick worker in a field could contaminate a whole field. Okay, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it's dumb. That can't actually happen. That's something you see in the movies. That's when they put that idea in your head through Hollywood and through fiction. It can't happen that way, folks.
So I think what I just want to prepare you guys for is that, everyone wants to believe they're in their death throes right this second. And I'm like, oh, it feels like they got some more cards to pull out first, which will make everybody even more uncomfortable than they are right now. And so in order to maintain your sanity for this time period, don't feel the need to get involved in every little ordeal. If you need to go to a grocery store to acquire something, and that grocery store is now asking you to wear a mask, wear a mask. Don't make a big deal of it. Do not engage. Do not do anything. In fact, wear a great mask. Wear a mask that they can't tell who you are at all. I like the ideas of, coming up with the mask that looks like Mardi Gras with the whole face thing and you can't see and it can be glamorous or whatever. Make some fun of it. Some of these masks that are coming out now are about funny. Okay, they're trying to make something funny, which laughter is the best medicine to anything. That does not mean you agree. You have to understand that putting on a mask, okay, you are not consenting to karmic dumping, okay?
No.
You're not agreeing to a contract.
So yeah, just say you're not agreeing to any perceived tacit consent to any malicious beings or karma dumping by putting the mask on. That's
You're
it.
just wanting to go to
That's
Walmart to get some milk to keep making your macaroni and cheese for the evening. Do you understand? So they have made this world so that you can't help having to maneuver within it. I'm sorry, we're here in this situation where we're all connected. You cannot, if you don't use money, you're gonna have to use a debit card. I mean, you were tied into the way this world is. Now the big cry has gone out to change the world, and the world is beginning to change, okay? But it's this period of time of being uncomfortable, of being frustrated, of being bored, of being all of this stuff is going to still be there for a while as this stuff gets worked out and they must play their cards. So you're going to have to find a way to have faith that you have now put that vision out and you mean it with your heart of hearts. Reassert it every day, daydream every day. And if you need to go out and do something and you're in an area where this stuff occurs, you can choose one of two things. You can stay at home, fine, get your groceries bought in, get friends to bring it in or whatever, anything to keep your mental health. But if you must go out there, you do not need to engage into the politics of this.
Whether you're what side of it you're on.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Don't engage. Do not become a part of the for and against. And don't fall for the trick that if you are participating in this as a need situation to get what you need, that you somehow are consenting or allowing for a karmic dump to come on. Be clear in your intentions that that is not true, but you must currently live in the world in which we live, which in this current present moment is complicated and uncomfortable. But you need to do everything you can not to engage. I've seen so much of it on Facebook. I said this before and I say it again. You probably don't need to be looking at Facebook a lot, or you need to be hiding certain posts and certain people that are posting right now. Because if all they're doing is inflaming you, you need to not have that come your way. So instead of spending your time being inflamed by all of this stuff, what you probably should do is take a moment, sit with a little diary, and daydream more into how this world is going to look when it's all over. More pleasant things to focus on, or turn on the cat and dog videos, whatever you feel you need to do. But you must understand there is not a soul on this earth that is not being affected by all of this. Everyone's stressed out. That is exactly, what the negative wants you to be. in order to fall back into old patterns, but it is also where positive wants you to be in order to grow through it. So, that's just how it is right now. And so have faith that your intentions that you put out there, you're sincere about, and you believe it, and that you see it. Go ahead to the other side, but do not engage in some of this right now in a way that is going to inflame, things. Now, enlightenment is a whole nother story. Getting involved in conversations and everything that help people think and provide enlightenment, more data to think about. That's what we try to do when we talk with everyone, give you more things to think about. That is the positive way to do this. But right now, I can tell you just within my lifetimes that things that used to be able to be discussed around a simple dinner table anymore, it can't be done. It just turns into this war versus a conversation of enlightenment and discussion. Okay, so pick your battles wisely right now and don't fall back into old patterns of behavior of fighting. And as we say, the lower three chakras, don't do it if you become aware of what's going on. But also in this conversation, again, I've said it many times, I'll repeat it again. Do not agree into karmic dumping. Don't agree to it. Just flat out, no, I do not agree to this. This is going to end. Let it go back to the sender. Let it go wherever it needs to go, but it's not going to go to me, and it's not going to go to the neighbor beside me. It can go back to where it came from. So any thoughts you want to add?
No, I think that's actually been said quite a bit, And people that know me know I'm fervently against a lot of the mask stuff and stuff like that out there, And granted, am I getting sick of seeing it? Most certainly I am, but I do also have to go to the store. I have to be able to leave the house, and I don't particularly appreciate being accosted by mask-wearing people. This is where that side is wrong. But if I'm badgering them, then I'm wrong. So there's another post that we did that we talked a little bit about this as well. But just know both the sides, if you're fighting each other on this, you're wrong. This is what they want. They want this division dumped on everyone. And it's not just through karma dumping, it's just in general in that respect. So don't, if you're going to protest something, make it a peaceful one. If you're going to basically fall for the COVID trickery, don't dump it on the people that haven't. And the people that haven't, don't go after the masked people, in public especially. Social media, like I said on another post, you've seen me go after some people on Facebook. That's usually me poking the bear a little bit just to see how big the bear actually is. I'm just trying to judge where people are. And it seems here in Arizona, it's about 50-50. So it's about 50-50 from what I can see. In other states, it's worse. We got to get somewhere around 70-30 at least with this. Granted, I know the cabal's train has to smash into the brick wall. Get it? To where that energy has to transmute, that energy goes somewhere, and guess who gets it laden back on them? The ones that caused it. So they get all that back. But in that time, do not fall for their trickery. Don't, on no matter what side of the fence, either no matter what righteousness pops up on either side. That's what they want. Or on the third side, which is the whole BLM thing. Don't fall for this either. It's all a trick. It's a triple-threaded, quadruple, multi-dimensional threaded trick.
And as we said, they take issues that are real.
Mm-hmm.
They take issues that are real and they toss them on their heads. And then both sides now are not moving anywhere. In general, there's just a lot of fighting going on, which is what they do. So we're not saying that these issues, there aren't points to these issues and they're not real. We're not saying that. We're just saying that there is a strategy that's always employed to infiltrate anything and everything to try and now maneuver it in a way that serves somebody else and not really probably what your intention is. So you must be aware of things like that going on and when to, disengage in partly, but not, because on your soul level and your intention, of what you want, and you're co-creative, you're still co-creating what you want to see. It's when they can get you to stop co-creating and just engage in the fighting, and now you're not co-creating anything but fighting, that's when they win. And so you have to know the difference right now, especially
There's something fighting for what you believe in, fighting for and defense
now.
of what of your way of life. There's something different entirely, creating the very energies they need. So I believe we're good there, Joanna. So this has just been another discussion with me and Joanna. That's another impromptu thing based on the experiences of the day, let's just say. So thank you everybody for watching.